Welcome back.
That will never get old.
No, it will never. It'll never get old. Welcome back to the podcast. This week is gonna be a little serious.
It's gonna be a little serious, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, we just got through the month of January.
Yes, we did.
And right after the holidays, January is such a hard month for people.
It's more than I think hard. It's financially hard. It's
Emotionally hard.
Emotionally depressionally
Everybody
hard.
thinks they have to do their best. That's another thing, right? Because everybody is like, oh, we can start working out, we can start eating healthy, we can start doing this. Like, it's a new year, new me. But it's so hard to just change your life all at once.
Well, I think it like you said, it starts with the setting your New Year's goals.
Yeah.
And most people, and I think people should stop doing it because most people set New Year's goals, and in the first 2 weeks, they've either let them go and don't care about them anymore, or they failed and automatically they've failed, and they feel like they're a failure.
Feel like they're a failure then. And like I said, January was a hard month for a lot of people. It always is, especially with the holiday season. That was right there. Things were fun. You were around people, and then all of a sudden, shit gets real.
Yeah, and it leads into like this week's topic, which
is mental health.
It's mental health. We suffer from a few things.
Our own forms of it.
One for me is not mental health. One is.
But I think it still has to do with your mentality. So I would consider it mental health.
Yeah, and both yours are
definitely mental health related.
Yeah, definitely mental health related. But
yes,
it's something that we both struggle with on times. One for me, I struggle a lot more than the other. I would almost say. You might disagree.
I think it really just depends on the time of the year, what's going on in your life. Because honestly, either one could be a major hiccup depending on the time of the year.
I find I suffer with one, or I shouldn't say suffer. I grow through one more than I do the other. But I've been going through it.
I think you're just better at hiding one than the other. Personally.
Now let's jump right into it. And the first one is I've been suffering from this since 1982.
Number one, I'm not gonna say I'm just gonna say one thing, okay?
Okay.
1982, really? And number two, I totally said I was gonna only say one thing, but I'm gonna say two things.
Here we go.
Is it really suffering, or is it just? I think everybody else has suffered a little bit. I love you,
but it's.
I don't think it's an actual suffer. I think it's just something you've dealt with for many years.
It's not suffering for me.
No, that's
for the
why.
people that are around me. It is, and it's ADHD.
Yes.
Today it's called ADD.
I didn't realize that. I thought ADD and ADHD were two different things. They were very similar.
Today it's called attention deficit disorder, which I'm going to flat out say I think is fucking bullshit that they've changed the name.
Okay.
Because you can be distracted.
Yeah.
You can be easily distracted. Doesn't mean it comes with the hyperactivity.
Yeah, and that's my thing is I think a lot more people in the world probably have a form of ADD where there is a specific group of people who have ADHD.
Now, I can tell you I have
both.
And I will forever people can say, "Oh, the diagnosis has changed." Shut up. To me, it hasn't. It's ADHD, and I have it, and I've had it since 1982. I came out of that womb hyper.
Yeah, but you weren't diagnosed with it until you were what?
I was 4. I was a very early diagnosis. They normally don't diagnose ADHD or ADD until you are 8 to 9. But I was diagnosed at 4 because
it was that noticeable.
Yeah. I wouldn't sit still. I wouldn't, like, my parents would put me to bed because I was a little child at 7:30.
That's what time I go to bed now.
11:30, 12 o'clock, my parents would go to bed, and I'd still be sitting, like, in my room playing dinkies because I wasn't tired.
If anybody wants to know what a dinky is, he's talking about, like, the dinky cars, like the little car, the toy cars.
Like,
or reading a book if you were grounded.
Yeah, my parents were so, I wouldn't say concerned, but we worried that they cut my door in half so they could have the bottom section closed so I couldn't open the door. But the top half, they could see what I was doing. Because if the door was closed completely, they're not seeing what I was doing. And I could be tearing the room apart, for Christ's sake.
You could still do that now. And, like, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Now, in today's society, ADHD is such a known diagnosis. It's things that a lot of kids do have or deal with, but there's a lot of, like, science behind it now and things like that. For you, growing up in the 80s, obviously there wasn't much knowledge of what ADHD was.
Mm-hmm.
How was that for you?
For me, like, okay, we'll start with in the 80s. Really, it wasn't diagnosed. Like, people didn't know what ADHD was in the, like, early 70s, 80s. They just thought, oh, that kid's different.
Yeah.
And boy, was I ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could run a marathon and then still stay up till 12 o'clock. Like, it was different. People treated me different. People
didn't know what it was.
Well, yeah, they treated me rudely.
Yeah. Special.
Like, early on in school, because I wouldn't sit still, because I wouldn't conform to what everybody else was like. I was a little different, like you said. I got called stupid because I wouldn't sit still. I wouldn't, like, everybody would sit down and read a book. I wouldn't, because sitting down for me was horribly something that was going wrong, because I couldn't stop and to this day, I still go through. I can't stop moving my legs. Like, I've either got to be tapping or something like that. I've got to be constantly moving. So for me to sit down behind a desk was the hardest thing growing up, and I was not medicated.
Yeah.
So in the 80s, it was difficult. Then I got diagnosed and medicated. I was put on Ritalin. I was taking 40 milligrams in the morning, I do believe, 40 milligrams at lunch, and then I think it was another 30 at bed or supper time, which, to my recollection, I was on the highest dosage of Ritalin that a person could get per day, and it was still not fully calming me down. They tried me on different medications. They've tried me on slow release. That never worked at all. I would take it at like 8 in the morning, and then by 10:30, that was through my system, wore off, and I was just whew. But that was like 80s, 90s. And then I would say mid-90s, I learned how to use it to my advantage.
But now you're also getting older as well, so you're understanding it a little bit more to yourself.
I hyper-focused.
Which helped you in school.
Yeah, retained, Like I can retain so much information and quickly. So I've used it to my advantage. Now, do I think today it's overdiagnosed? Completely. I think there are doctors out there just going, they're, to put it in English, they're too lazy.
I personally think it's like everybody's being diagnosed with, say, ADD because the attention span is not there anymore. The attention span that, say, our parents had or people your age would have if they didn't have ADHD like yourself, that attention span was normal back then. People like me and the younger generations, we don't have that attention span anymore because we have tablets, we have phones. We're constantly, we can't just focus on one thing no matter what. And I think people are diagnosing us with ADD or ADHD because they're not realizing that the generations are just different.
I get what you're saying. I do. But I still think it's completely overprescribed as a diagnosis. In the 80s, it was about 10% of the population who had ADHD or ADD.
Mm-hmm.
Since the 80s, it's, I think, if I remember correctly, it's up to like 28%. So it's went up, since the 90s, 97, it went up to like 28% or something like that. Why in 10 years, or let's say 20 years, has it jumped way that much? I think it's doctors just going, well, he does show that he can't pay attention. Yes, we got cell phones. We have all this. Yes, he can't pay attention. Instead of finding out what the root cause is, they're just going, oh, fuck it. He has ADD.
And I completely agree with most of that. I will say though, is it from when you got diagnosed to the point of say 10 years, 15 years later, where more people were getting diagnosed, could it have been more of a people didn't realize what it was? In the case that when you were growing up, it was kind of frowned upon to have it, where in today's society
it's accepted.
It's accepted more. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, I do.
I'm not saying doctors don't overdiagnose it. I'm sure they do, but I'm just saying could that be another reason towards it all?
I maybe. Yeah, I think so. But I'm going to say this. I've been around people and kids and since we've been together. I've been around kids. I've been around adults that have been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. And that's since we've been together. They've been diagnosed. And I can tell you now, they don't have it. And I grew up with it. I've grown up my whole life with it. I'm now 41 years old and I still have it. They don't. Because I know the side effects. I know everything that comes with it.
But they do say that certain people do show different symptoms, kind of thing.
Males show it pretty much all the same way.
Yeah, I've read that
females are completely. It's almost
they're
like
a little different. Yeah, I find from what I've learned about it, males show it in that hyper way, such as yourself. But women are less likely to show it that way. They talk so much more
and hyper focused.
Yeah.
Where guys show it more having energy to burn and hyper focused, and females, they don't show it with the hyperness or the energy to burn. They show it with, like you said, the willing to talk for 13 hours straight.
Which Bradley has that as well, guys.
Yes, I do. But the 13-hour straight conversation they can have with themselves on a wall, and they're hyper focused. It's a benefit and it's a default also at the same time.
Yeah. I did have another question for you.
Yeah.
And I've kind of drawn a blank.
See, so this is where the hyper focus doesn't come in. But does it help me for work?
Oh, for sure.
Does it help us run the company? I think sometimes you use it to your advantage.
Oh, I have learned how to use it to my advantage, yes. I can honestly say, and I don't mean like I use you or anything. It's just, I know the way you think, the way you work now, and I understand it a lot more, that I give you specific jobs that you will enjoy more, and it's easier for you to do.
I also find you use it to your advantage, and I'm not saying you use me when we travel.
Oh,
Because
for sure.
I can go for I can drive forever. I can I don't need sleep.
Mind you, I don't think it's like I don't use it to my advantage. I'm just almost the complete opposite.
Go, yes.
I'm a very tired individual for the most part. When I get into a moving vehicle, I'm probably falling asleep. Is that my parents' fault? Possibly, yes.
Yeah, like
But it's just the way we are. But
well, it's night and day
yeah.
because I don't need sleep.
And I need a lot of it.
And like she even said, it was last night's conversation. When do you sleep? Because we were up until one last night doing things for our company. And I think I still stayed up till like 2:30 maybe. And then I was up again at like
8.
I think 20 after 7, 8 o'clock. So I run on like 4 to 6 hours
Like
sleep.
I don't see him go to sleep and I don't see him wake up. If
No.
that makes sense.
No.
Do you think that it is something that some people grow out of? I know you haven't, and you probably never will at this point, but do you think there is kids out there or adults out there who had ADHD or ADD and now don't? Or does it really just depend on the...
So I can go scientific on this one. Studies show that it never fully goes away. It never fully goes away. Does it go dormant?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. The more you age, the more it goes dormant.
Yeah. You don't have as much energy anymore.
For me, still not dormant. But like my metabolism when I was
Younger.
a kid
Yeah.
was be through the roof. And it was helped because of my ADHD. I was in grade 9 and I was still 65 pounds. And I was still putting that, like, eating a lot.
That has since went dormant.
Yeah. Like, my metabolism has dormanted out. I have to work to lose weight now. But when I was growing up, all I had to do was just go outside. So does it go dormant or go away? To a point, it does, but it never fully goes away. But it does dormant. Go dormant.
Okay, and advice for any parents whose kid has been diagnosed with it recently, or do you have an advice for anybody who's an adult or a teenager who's been recently diagnosed with it?
I would say use it to your advantage. I would also say kind of more let them go outside, let them focus, let them burn their energy.
Let them be themselves.
Don't try to change them. My parents, people tried to change me on how I was because I wasn't the norm. So let them be what they want or how they want to be. Don't try to curve the ball, but use it to your advantage. So
like I do.
You need a hole dug? give them the shovel and say,
Yeah.
hey, you got 10 minutes and I'll give you $5. Because goddamn, a person with ADHD, you give them a hyper-focused activity, that hole will be 10 feet deep.
Yeah.
But it's just, I would say, just use it to your advantage.
And let yourself be yourself kind of thing.
And if you need to medicate yourself, medicate yourself.
Yeah,
like,
it's okay.
get doctors prescribed drugs for ADHD, but medicate yourself if you need to be, because it's sometimes it's the only thing that brings you down.
And my advice to people who have somebody they love with ADHD, ADD, whatever, like you said, let them be themselves, but also like do your research. And that's a major thing. Do your research on your own, figure out exactly what it is. If you have questions, depending on who it is that you love, either ask them those questions. If you can't ask them because they're a child and they don't understand, ask doctors, find help. I'm sure there's a lot of groups out there with parents who are going through the same things you guys are, or people who are going through the same things, and just do your research and understand it and let them be them.
But we got to go on to the next one.
Now, the other ones I don't think will be as long and informative, but that is something he had lived with for 40 years, so there was a lot to get into.
Yeah. So the next one is one that you kind of suffer with a little bit, and it's only been in the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years, and it's seasonal depression.
Yeah, seasonal depression, honestly, like I've never actually been diagnosed with it. I have talked to the doctor about it in previous years. I'm not exactly sure what actually brought it on, why it was brought on, but every year around the same time of the year, normally the winter months where there's no sunshine and you're pretty much stuck indoors, I end up with seasonal depression. Do you know what they actually call seasonal depression?
S.
They call it SAD.
I would have never got that.
Seasonal depression. It's sad, and it actually makes quite a bit of sense. And I had no idea that it was called SAD.
I was going to say
until
SD.
This week kind of thing. And it makes sense because that's exactly what it is. You're just sad. And it's not that you're sad you just want to cry. It's just, I think the lack of vitamin D from the sun and just being stuck indoors, the fresh air, you're not getting any of that. And it causes some people to kind of wig out.
I think yours, and it's a question for you. Do you think yours is worse in the summer or worse in winter, fall, or spring?
Oh, definitely be winter. That would be my major time. And I find it's usually I'm okay in November because we're going into Christmas time and I love Christmas. And
Yes,
I'm lucky that way that I do actually like Christmas. So it keeps me focused on something until December kind of thing. I think I really, really suffer with it after Christmas into about February. I find is my worst time because there's nothing to look forward to. And I'm not saying I don't have it in December. I probably do still have it in December. I just have focused on something
blues.
else. I focus myself on something else so I don't have to think about it because I'm thinking about everything else that needs to get done for Christmas. So I would say my major time that I suffer with it is roughly January, February, where it's just cold outside and you just kind of stay indoors. You have nothing to look forward to because camping season is in May. My birthday's in May. So there's literally nothing for me in January and February. So I think that's part of the cause to why I feel the way I feel.
Do you feel that because we keep our Christmas lights up forever. Does that make me depressed on times? Yes, but do you think keeping the Christmas lights up helps your seasonal depression?
I think that's part of the reason I do it. Is because I don't have to fully let go of the Christmas season in my house. Yes, it might be it might be gone everywhere else, but I think it's my form of way of dealing with the seasonal depression by like, oh, look, some pretty lights kind of thing.
Okay, here's another one. People that tell you to take down your Christmas lights, do you want to just go shut
F
up
yourself? Pretty much, yes. My mom was somebody who Christmas lights didn't go up until at least December 1st or longer, and it came down between Christmas and New Year's. It was not very often that they kept them up after New Year's. So, and I hated it. Because I love Christmas. So I made it a point in our house that we wouldn't. We would let it. And we don't. Like, I'm not saying that forever I might be that way. Things may change as we have children running around who are going to pull bulbs off the tree or dogs eating something. Like, I'm sure over time things will change and I might be like, you know what? No, I'm not doing it this long. But I can tell you right now, and I will not take down Christmas decor until after January 1st.
Okay, I got another question. Yeah, this is a... Do you think possibly going away on vacations
Could help?
to warmer climates, to sunnier climates, because we live in the Great White North in Canada, do you think going to sunnier, like warmer climates would help your seasonal depression?
I think so, because it gives me something to look forward to. But I think no matter what, I still have to live up to that day of being a little depressed.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just wondering, does it help?
I think it would. I can say, though, this was actually the easiest year I've had. Over the last few years, was it last year I think was really bad for me?
Oh, last year you didn't even want to get out of bed.
And the year before were really, really bad years for me, where like I was calling the doctor going, something's wrong, I need help.
Yep. I think last year you even had to take time off work because of it. Do you think it's your brain telling you like there's a chemical imbalance, or do you think it's just your brain going, hey, you need brightness in your life?
Well, that's basically what seasonal depression is. It's because you're not, like, you don't have that sunlight. You have those shorter days. There's some type of chemical imbalance in your brain when it comes to, like, sunlight, vitamin D, right? Because you're lacking that vitamin D, which obviously is changing the way your the way your mind is thinking, kind of thing. But do I think I'll always have it? Possibly. Could it possibly been something that, like, maybe at one point I was actually depressed, didn't realize I was actually depressed, and now it's just more formed into a, like, seasonal depression? Am I just depressed and I just keep myself so busy that I don't know it? I don't know. But I'm not looking forward to looking into that either. So.
I find in January and February, I've kind of got to keep the energy going. I got to keep pushing you. I got to keep trying to get you to go out and do things, go for drives, stuff like that, because this is how I deal with it. Because I find if I don't, you're just gonna let's go watch TV in bed
and that's my thing. Like, I am very much, I go to bed. When I'm not feeling good, I go to bed. When I'm feeling good, I go to bed. If I'm sad, I go to bed.
Yeah.
Sleep is my therapy in a way. I go to sleep and I feel better the next day. Or I feel better an hour later when I wake up from that nap. It's just the way I've always dealt with it.
But
So
sometimes it doesn't work.
Sometimes it definitely doesn't work. And honestly, there is times where I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to lay here and watch TikTok kind of thing and just distract myself. And I think it's because of the fact that like my mind is, there's so many things going through it that I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with this right now.
Yeah, do you think social medias help you or not help you?
I think in a way it does help only because like it helps you distract a little bit. But knowing the fact that like when you're depressed and you just don't want to do anything, you just lay there and distract yourself, if that makes sense. I think something that would help would be getting off screens, going outside even though it is cold, like dress up warm and go for a walk and just get the fresh air, because I think that would help. Or if we were to move like south, I think that would work tremendously for my seasonal depression. But what do I know? I'm not a doctor.
So when are we moving? But it's going to lead us into the next one.
Mm-hmm. But like, I just want to say, like, obviously, I know there's people out there who deal with much more severe depressions or even much more severe seasonal depression. And everybody's different. And like, my things won't always work for everybody else. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I totally agree. It's not going to work for everybody.
No.
But it leads us kind of into the next one, which is also yours.
Oh, we're double whammying me.
Bam, bam. And you kind of wore the sweater that kind of gives it away.
Which is?
She's
anxious.
She suffers from, and I don't want to say severe anxiety, but you suffer from
a form of
anxiety.
Yes, because there is many types of anxiety out of there. There is many types of anxiety out there. For the most part, I would say mine is more of a social anxiety. I don't do well in crowds. And that's not only because I'm short, like some people think. I don't do well when it comes to talking to people. Like, I am not a talker.
No.
With strangers. I don't like small talk. It's just not who I am. And I'm also one of those types of people who would rather sit back when I first meet you and kind of evaluate you and see if you're somebody that I want to be friends with before I actually act on it. I would say for the most part, social anxiety is really hard for me because when I am talking, like even right now, if there was more than just him here, I would get like very confused on what I'm saying because all of a sudden I realize everybody's eyes are on me.
And I'm going to admit this. First, when we got together, I personally thought anxiety was a bunch of bullshit. Mm-hmm. And it was just people making up excuses why they didn't want to go out and do things.
It's your generation. Sorry, but it is in a way.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah. I look at it like I have ADHD. I'm way that way.
Yeah.
And you're that way. Mm-hmm. And it's I thought it was bullshit.
People don't understand what goes on in other people's brains. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to understand is you don't know what's going on in somebody else's life. You don't know what they're thinking about late at night.
I never really met somebody with anxiety until we got together.
Yeah. And like forms of anxiety can be like the way I stutter on my words when I'm with people and I'm talking and I'm the center of attention. That bothers me. Just the thought of like everybody staring at me. Mm-hmm. Am I okay? Like, is there something on my face? Is there whatever, right? Physical changes. There's times where I'll get really like hot and sweaty. And like for me, my face goes red. and there's nothing I can do about it, and I can feel my face going red. And there's times where I'll be talking and somebody be like, oh, your face is going red, which makes me go
redder.
And it just makes me feel even more uncomfortable than I already am. Other than that, like, I don't really experience much else. It's more just like heating up, sweating, and I stumble upon most of my words.
I also find that you have like a little bit of separational anxiety too. And that's just me.
I think over the years, I think I am very much one of those types of people that once I'm bonded with somebody, I'm bonded with them.
Yep.
And it's very hard for me to like unbond myself. Not saying that I can't go out and do things by myself. I definitely can do it. I like having that like security blanket in a way.
Now I'm going to, because I know the answer. I'm going to ask this question: do you have many friends because of your anxiety? Like, do you have many close friends? I know the answer.
I don't have many close friends. I really don't care for people. And it's not because like I'm a miserable soul or anything like some people like to say. It just comes down to the fact that like people are there's a lot more bad people in the world than there is good people. There's not very many people out there, especially nowadays, who are kind-hearted, who aren't just in it for themselves. And I have realized that over the years. So I keep myself at a distance from a lot of people. So maybe because I have the social anxiety and I worry about those things and I think about those things, could that be a cause to why I don't have as many friends as somebody else would? Possibly.
I find I don't want to say you don't like people, because I believe that's the wrong word to use, or wrong words to use. I think you're very closed booked on people.
Yeah.
Like when she said earlier, she takes a while
to warm up to people.
Her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
I introduced them. What?
Actually, you were the one who actually introduced us.
Yeah, but
but back in 2019.
They were more like ships passing in the dark for like 3 months. They would literally pass each other and be like, "Hi." They'd sit by like we'd sit by
really do that.
We'd sit by fires, and you guys would like have like little conversations, but nothing that would like earth shatter the fucking ground. Then like it was almost like, because they both suffer from anxiety in forms, and it was like both of them went, okay, she suffers.
She's like me.
She suffers.
It was like a trauma bond in a way. Like I remember first meeting her. I didn't really think anything of her. Like I was like, okay, like she's a little strange, but like whatever kind of thing. She was Josh's girlfriend.
Still strange.
She's still strange, of course, but I love her strangeness now. But that's basically what it was she was Josh's girlfriend. I wasn't really close with Josh either, kind of thing. Once we got together and they were like a trailer away, it just kind of helped. But like it was more her who kind of got us to bond together a little bit more, because there was one night she was a lot drunker than I was.
Oh boy.
And that's when I think our relationship kind of bloomed, because all she did was talk, and she talked and talked and talked, and she was like telling me everything. And like it was just a way of like being able to like just let go and be like, oh, like she's like me. And I want to say it was just like, oh, I choose you, Pikachu, kind of thing. Because because it was like it was just a way of us bonding together so quickly and so easily, and realizing that in a lot of ways we were a lot alike. I think that was part of the reason to why we got together as fast as we did.
I can't believe you just used that line, but okay, whatever. I choose you, Pikachu.
But yeah, like, no, for the most part, I do sit back and I watch and I evaluate how a person is before I get to know them. And like, I got lucky because my best friend is literally like a
Carbon copy.
in a way, yes. Like, there is obviously differences, but there is a lot of similarities to who we are.
Like, they've moved, and you are still as close as you'll ever be with that person.
Mm-hmm.
We have new friends that we hang out with. Mm-hmm. And, like, I feel like right now that you're still in the feeling out portion of the friendship.
I personally do not think I am anymore. Like, I think I'm good with them. I'm fine with them. I just think it's obviously a different relationship than what I have with my best friend, and that's okay. Like, everybody's friendship is different. And of course, like, the friendship myself and my best friend have together is a different type of friendship.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing. I just feel like how I see it.
No, honestly, with our like newer friends and stuff, once I've gotten to know them, it doesn't take me long to be like, okay, I'm good. And like, you'll notice the difference between when I don't feel comfortable and once I'm comfortable. Because once I'm comfortable, I don't shut up. I will talk and talk and talk and talk. But it takes me to get to that point to go, oh, okay, these people are okay. Like, it's like I have to tell my nervous system that these people are okay and you can be friends with them and let loose.
Let's stop beating a dead horse on this one, but that is your anxiety. You're not emotionally anxiety, none of that. You are, I find, just
emotionally anxious, you mean?
Yeah. I find you're just socially
awkward. Yeah, and that's basically what it is.
It's part of your anxiety.
I'm a form of like socially awkward. I can have a conversation, but there's a lot of the time I choose not to. And honestly, ways I deal with it is I just kind of have to go through it. There is a lot of the time though that I do push myself through it. And I've learned that over the years. I'm not one of those people who go, oh, I have anxiety, I can't. I go, I have anxiety, yes, and it might make me nervous. I may feel sick. I may not want to do it, but I need to force myself to do it. And I have good days and bad days. There's days that I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. But then I'll have a day where I'm like, I have to do it today.
And I don't want to say I think I'm the cure for you, but I think it's a reason why we're together. Mm-hmm. I am the social butterfly of all social butterflies. I will talk to a cricket if it pays attention.
Even if it doesn't pay attention.
Yeah, true. But I kind of get on her when I find your anxiety is acting up a lot. I will literally like, babe, we got to go do this. We got to go out. We got to talk.
We got to do it, yeah.
We got to go see this person because I know that if she stays in this bubble, then the anxiety is going to get possibly a little worse, or it's going to be crippled with your your seasonal depression, and you're going to be in a deeper bubble, and that's where I kind of don't want you to get.
Yeah.
So
social anxiety has kicked in.
Yeah, social anxiety has now kicked in.